Over close to 25,000 police officers, between an average of 12,000 to let's say 15,000 military officers. Who is security person? As we speak, we are looking somewhere around 37,000 personnel. A bit me a mining and borders, baby how do we consider the lockdown in the first place after day one? A course
Kwame, well done for digging some statistics out. But a little tweak to the numbers you have, given out. You did a little exchange. It is the army that is around
25,000, okay.
And then even with that, there are some 7 with MINUSMA. MINUSMA is the hybrid, operation, peacekeeping operation in northern Mali.
Okay.
So some are in Kidal, Timbuktu, and Gao. And we are also in DR Congo. Helping with peacekeeping missions there. So some of us
on peacekeeping as we speak
yes,
at the moment.
In South Sudan,
so they are not even within the territories of Ghana?
Not all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, in South Sudan. And then up to now, there are conflict zones where Ghana is engaged in terms of peacekeeping. And when you look at the ranking, Ghana is placed quite high in terms of our efforts at keeping peace around the world. Then the police officers are a little over 33,000. But you made a very good point that beyond COVID-19, there are many other security issues we are contending with. The police headquarters, as you say, has a fraud, a property fraud unit. It has so many others, anti-Langard and all that. So you can deploy in full force all the soldiers and police officers you have on this. And I just came out today. Yesterday I wasn't out. I can see they are, deployed quite thin. They are stretched thin. You don't see more than 2 or 3 soldiers or police officers at one spot. And the numbers we have given are quite staggering. Over 7 million people. That's quite a number. So last time I made a point that one of the forms of collateral damage will suffer as this thing carries on is that the people who are poor, and this decision for me is a pro-rich and anti-poor decision. You don't give a notice on Friday with an ultimatum of 48 hours or so. And we were given birth to by parents who don't have a bank account. And there are families whose parents have never, couples that give birth to the people have never walked into a banking hall. We are not a nation that is sensitized on matters of savings.
So
we live by day.
Okay, so it wasn't a policy or probably say a directive.
It wasn't well thought through.
It wasn't well thought through.
Yeah. It was taught with people living in East Legon and other areas, because His Excellency the President was under huge pressure.
Just to lock down.
But beyond the pressure, Kwame, the 7-point-something million you're talking about, only 5 or 10% of those are well-to-do people. A good number of them are poor people, people with no good sanitary living conditions. And now that families are home, they are going to use the lavatory some more, even if they have it at home.
Yes, but
and when the aseptic tank is...
government, president for that matter, exemptions to that effect. And see, about majority of the people now are vulnerable. No? They are exempted to use certain essential facilities. So just like the public toilets, just to go out, get food, say, in case. You
know why, Kwame, that is not a strong argument? I'm not here to punch holes into what we have decided as a nation to do.
Okay.
And I've had cause to commend His Excellency and his team for treating this with the urgency it deserves. But when you respond to a national crisis, respond right. Don't respond out of jitters, and don't respond with copycat policy decisions, because well-established societies have been able to, implement this lockdown. I saw videos yesterday of young ladies who came out and then were accosted by the army. And the lady said, I heard the president say, if I want to do Momo, I can come out. And the guy was 10. He was so hostile to her. He said, stand here. And only God knows, after the video being taken by his colleague, for example, was cut, what happened to her. So you called this a humanitarian, operation and not a combat operation. I don't see humanity or humanitarianism with this. So it was not well thought through, and we were raising the red flags. And Kwame, you and I have had multiple discussions. It is in nobody's interest that COVID-19 should, spread across the country. And look at the Kaya people who were crammed up in a truck. They traveled all the way from here and got to Ejiso, and they were asked to come back.
Now, before this particular decision, Ebebano, in your own assertion, what is it that, even though you were against a lockdown, whether total lockdown or a partial lockdown, but in your own assertion, whether we like it or not, the decision is here. What is it that you expected government to have put in place before announcing a partial lockdown?
I don't envy His Excellency the President at this opportune moment. If you gave me the opportunity to be president now, I would say no, because he's under so much duress and stress. But then, yes, he has showed the leadership, but you shouldn't be wobbly in matters of the welfare of the poor. And I've indicated, this is only day 2. The complaints will begin to move from a trickle to an avalanche from the ordinary people of Ghana. And if this is protracted, it will have political consequences at the polls. So I think what should have happened was the information was flowing, there was so much advocacy, and thank God, CMG, Class Media Group, you have a Veronica Backett, and on set, you have this. And so people who thought they had enough savings to get by for a few weeks naturally were staying home. You should have kept it that way. Not our mothers who live by day, laborers who can only put breakfast on the table and don't know where lunch will come from for their families. And with all the grammar on the floor of Parliament, the United States of America is dedicating $2 trillion US. The UK is looking at wiring £2,500 to people directly to cushion them. I don't see that cushioning happening. And when the Agric Minister spoke to the nation yesterday, he said there was a mad rush to stock up.
Yes.
And then he said there was no need. So the question is, if there was no need, from today, there should be a door-to-door policy of providing ration to poor parts of the 2 areas that have been affected, or 3 areas if you add them. Directly to people. Directly to people. Because one, you say you can go out for food. With what money? Since Friday, the young man who works at Tiptoe and lives hand to mouth has not been able to make an extra 1 Ghana cedi. You're talking about a stimulus for working people. We are a nation that looks at the middle class and forgets low-income families. So this decision for me, even though it has been taken, if I had the opportunity to whisper to His Excellency the President, I would say he has taken a very wrong decision.
But the President made an assertion that even if we lose track of the issues happening within our economy, and even if the economic figures and indicators fall, we know how to bring it back. But if we are to lose lives, we do not know how we can bring back those lives.
You can be a living dead person if the basic conditions of life are not provided to you. One of the saddest things to be in incarceration is that, yes, we'll give you food, we'll give you water, but beyond the prison yard, you can't have your liberty to move around. We are living dead. Is it our will that we should be locked up? We are living dead. And so I hear the quotes by His Excellency the President, and congrats to his speech writers. That quote has been reverberating around the world. But the question is, have you thought of how many more lives you could lose as a result of starvation? And so let's do the pros and cons analysis. It's not about throwing around dramatic or charged or sensational mantras. It's about the welfare of the old lady who for some reason has never had the opportunity of a son who goes out and sweats to take care of her. If she doesn't put her words on a table, she can't get food. And you say, okay, food vendors can come out and sell. Who will patronize the food? When you've asked people to stay home.
Yes, because per reportage that we received yesterday, there was low patronage for even those who were out to sell. Because a lot of people are not on the street.
This thing is not sustainable. You can't be passing, strict rules, draconian steps from the comfort of a house or a building, built by the taxpayer, the poor taxpayer who is suffering right now. And only last night, do we know how many pregnant women died as a result of bad health care? Do we know how many children died only last night because of lack of oxygen? And how many people who were taken to emergency centers of our health facilities and they died because of lack of proper care? Many more people have died to other causes other than COVID-19 in the period under review.
So you believe
so is
that
it that some lives matter more than other
yes,
lives?
But the point is that we are saving lives here. The rate at which the disease spreads, okay, we do not want to encounter community spread at its high levels, just as we experience in Italy and then some other parts of the world. So if it is to happen that
Kwame,
way, how do we sustain ourselves?
Kwame, why would you look at only worst situations? Look at the good examples as well.
Yes, but
I think this is a copycat. It's a copycat.
As we speak this morning, Abuja is under lockdown. Lagos is under lockdown. Johannesburg is under lockdown. So a lot of even the African cities are experiencing lockdown.
You know why they are locking down?
They
are locking down because they've seen white folks locked down. They wouldn't care a hoot if maybe the U.S. embassy didn't fold up. They wouldn't care a hoot if advisories were not coming from Western capitals that something needs to be done. And so I think, Kwame, before you take any major decision, that has wide-reaching repercussions for your poor. This nation is a poor country. Let's be sympathetic for a minute. I'm not saying we should lose our guard and let COVID-19 spread and kill people. And you have told us Ebola had a fatality rate of 7 out of 10. Like 70% of the time, you would die as a result. And this one has a fatality rate of 2%. I'm not underestimating the potency of fatality of this virus, but I think we have overshot the runway. Our reaction has been a bit exaggerated. And if we don't take care, as this lockdown continues, we may lose more lives than we would have lost to COVID-19.
There wouldn't be any statistics to back that. Even as we experience the 2 weeks lockdown, we wouldn't know how many people are going to die out of hunger. And then just as Joe Jackson was saying, we do not have a clear-cut data that truly explains how many people are within the informal sector, how many people are within the formal sector, how many people are within the middle belt, the lower belt, and then the upper class. So even if there should be a stimulus package, how do we reach out to families?
No, how do we even disburse? How do we even disburse?
That is the question I'm putting
and
to you.
Kwame, we live in a nation, plagued by nepotism and favoritism. Anything that is from the national kitty that should go around, people are given preferential treatment. And we live in a country where June 3 happened, where May 9 happened, and supplies that were given to cushion the poor found their way maybe onto the market. So we are a very dishonest, people. And if you talk about, a stimulus package, countries that have talked about it can identify every household and every individual within the country. They have a social security system. The day a baby drops, the baby goes into a database. But if you ask, what is the population of Accra, nobody can tell you. So this has been wobbly, it's been shambolic, it's only been jittery, and the repercussions will soon begin to show. The cracks will begin to show. Day 1 has gone. This is day 2. People are going to run out of supplies.
Are people really observing it per what you see from our streets, the street of Accra, especially using the route where you came from this morning?
For a good part of the past 1 month, things like interviews would only bring me out and a few meetings. Okay. Just as I told you, people who felt they could get by were naturally staying home. And I came out only today. And I'm impressed with how, thinly or sparsely populated our roads are. But there are no foods, or there is no food. There are no, conditions, conducive, basic conditions of livelihood. And this thing will come back to bite. And I made a point that day that this is a poorly surveilled city. Kumasi is also poorly surveilled. We don't have the CCTV cameras to see every corner. And as people get hungry and angry and suffer from depression, nobody has even come out to tell us what the antidepressant, policy is. Now that people are going to be crammed in single rooms, they can't go out. It will take a toll on them
Just a brief touch on
psychologically.
what the Agric minister said. So Agric minister clearly spells out that a lot of people are doing panic buying. They are rushing to stock up foods in their various homes. But he gave an assurance that there is enough stock for Ghana to benefit from, even if the disease is to travel for the whole of the year. Still, government can feed and supply food items to families. People will always go to the market and they will still get what they are supposed to get.
With what money?
With what money? Okay, that is a question for a different answer. But the question is that, do you believe in that particular assertion of a buffer stock? Because we are told that within a month, Ghana consumes 16 million of the 5 kg rice, just within a month. So if importation is not coming in, China is locked down, most European countries are locked down. Do we have that capacity to be able to provide to that extent?
Food security is key. And I've had cause to complain about the booming real estate agency or real estate sector. When you have a serious capital like Accra, or you have a major city like Kumasi, you don't have to, Lands Commission and other, property-related constitutional bodies don't have to allow every square meter and every square inch to be sold out. And what are people building? Homes. And so in the outlying areas of major cities like Accra and Kumasi, there should be, sacred territory, so to speak, purely mandated for farming.
Okay.
Look, they said some of the areas we have naturally would have been places for cabbage. There are arable lands around the capital. Every alleyway has been blocked. Every waterway has been blocked with a building. Dodowa was supposed to be the food basket, so to speak, to feed the rate. Look at the boom in real estate in Dodowa, for example. And so this calls for a serious rethink by us as a nation.
Okay. Let me read this message.
Buffer stock is a lovely idea, and I commend those who are working in that regard, stocking up in warehouses. But then by now, what I want to be hearing is, we will have these cereals on trolleys. We know you don't go to East Legon, for example, and distribute oil and 5 kg rice. You know the areas to go to, the shanty towns. Yeah, don't talk about we have enough stock to take you the whole year. What are you doing to directly give ration to the people? Those are the things we need to be hearing at this time.
Okay. Let me read this messages coming through. Mukaila Jonas, or say from inside Kerry, or say, I support Ibad Ibrahim's assertion that this lockdown will have political effect on the sitting government, but he must know that in every initiative there is negatives and then positive effect. Nonetheless, it's a wake-up call to we, or as a party communicators, to let the people know that it's for our own good that we are asked to stay at home. Some political parties trooped in their supporters to cause and flout the order just to read politics into the whole situation. God is watching. Okay, Mukaila made us a little text also or the Abba. So just a comment on what you made. And then this one is also saying, precautionary measures to government help fight against COVID-19. Okay, one for with the anchor. Let me read this one. I'll say, Professor Kwame Aristocrat said, if the IMF was evil for Nanado, Bawumia and the NPP as their campaign tool, then the media should question the legality and then the legibility of the president's palpable lie that he has $100 million for the fight against coronavirus. Let's finish using Nanado's already 8.8 trillion old cedis for his fruitless and then new voter register exercise because of winning political power, all cost before touching the heritage fund for this particular virus outbreak. As large as the NPP government is, it shouldn't take a disaster to occur before making sacrifices with their unpaid salaries. Okay, may I say, Professor, any text also what they are. Dr. Downblow said the behavior of our security agencies and then personnel at this pandemic time shows they are unprofessional and are vigilante groups recruited into our security services. services by this NPP government, if this is the way they are going to fight coronavirus, then they are going to be worsening our situation and our lives. Okay, so Ibad will speak about the professionalism aspect and how they are combating this particular case. And then Mystic SND Free in Sawam Adweji or said it is in this crucial and then catastrophic time of COVID-19 that we need to feel and see the importance of the so-called planting for food and jobs. Ghanaians are buying food at exorbitant prices, which is beyond comprehension. So do we really have a buffer stock or overflow of whatever the minister claims? This has aggravated and then already unprecedented, unbearable hardships are meeting and the people are being experienced. NANADO should supply PPEs to health workers and those in the front line as well as our borders to stop the long talk. Okay. Thank you, Mystic. And your text also Ode Abba. Walanyo is also sending this one from Akweti. I will say, sometimes human beings must be forced to comply with the law. The law must be set as an example to those who just want to go out to see what lockdown means, just risking the life of their families back home. What's the essence of keeping a fund for people whose lives are in danger? Who will the fund be used for? In this particular case, in case they die, is the plan of the NDC to see the government struggle in its fight against this pandemic. Regards to Ernest Yakomi. Walanyo, thank you for text also Odiaba. Dr. Abedi S. and the free quad. So, I say, thank God the finance minister has clarified how government is going to finance the COVID-19 fight. The coronavirus, but if the Greater Accra and then Greater Kumasi people don't observe this partial lockdown, seriously, the disease spread will be rapid. We have no option than to totally lock down should this move forward. Okay, say hi to Reverend Samuel K. Mensah of Crofrom. Okay, may I say Uncle Ato SND with face painters. So say, good morning, Kwame. What will be the benefit of this heritage fund if all Ghanaians die? The minority has no moral integrity to resist finance minister from accessing the fund. Let all stay home and observe the precautions to avoid the spread of the pandemic. Regards to Honorable Elizabeth Afolekwe and then Frederick Aban in Botiano. Uncle Ato. But I send you a text also the free spin text by. The very last one, Pajo SND way free Big Joe Shoes near Quada so Onion Market in Kumasi. I say current lockdown show how difficult it is for human government to solve our problems. You see how the security has struggled in controlling human beings. We should just stay home and save and be safe. Say hi to Mami Soldier of Quada, so may I say. But Ibad, quickly, Mami Brow, so Namim Bisa say, per the videos you have seen from Endra to Ende, the professionalism of the task force on the ground, just making sure say the implementation takes effect and the way they are managing the situation, especially the cargo truck you saw with a lot of female or women with children, some who are pregnant as well, being transported from here to Walewale in the northern part of the country, as well as a lot of vehicles who got to, let's say, the Kaswato booth, and then they were returned to go back to wherever they were coming from. Your take on that, and then some of the things you have seen on our streets.
I have so much respect for senior police officers in the police academies that train our police officers. And then I have respect for top army people who also train our people, our guys in Bundase, Ichanse, and other areas to come out to serve Ghana and serve the rest of the world. But I think we should emphasize the need for compassion in this, thing. These are people crammed up in a truck, and God knows what infection some of them would be carrying. And again, I don't even see social distancing.
whilst they were in the vehicle.
While even the security officers engage the civilians.
Okay.
I don't even see proper social distancing when the decision makers sit in parliament and have such deliberations. I don't see proper social distancing when people holding press conferences to give updates are that close to each other when they get to the podium. So I think advocacy should have been accentuated some more.
By examples.
And the Veronica bucket thing and this were working. And you see, this virus, yesterday I was listening to the press briefing by Donald Trump.
Okay.
He said now the United States has outwitted all other nations in terms of infections or infected people. Not because they have the largest, but because they are doing more tests than any country in the world. And now the US has whittled down testing time from Donald Trump's own 45 minutes to 5 minutes. If you test positive in 5 minutes, the Americans should be able to tell you you have COVID-19. If you are negative in 50 minutes, you should be able to do that. These are serious people. He has asked General Motors to rechannel its manufacture or production into ventilators. And
but how long does it take?
We've all talked about they need to industrialize Kwame. For so long, we said Kwame Nkrumah did this, did that. And the idea of one district, one factory is to boost our industrialization efforts as a country. Young people get out of KNUST, very intelligent people, but there's no system, no support system to encourage invention. So we always rely upon imported stuff. Jack Ma has come in. Other, PPEs and all that are also on their way. So fundamentally, on the issue of professionalism, it depends upon the briefing a police officer or a soldier is given before they get onto the ground. And the sense I make of the rhetoric leading up to this partial lockdown was that we will deal with you if you defy it. And mind you, even though a bill was passed into law to give His Excellency the powers to restrict, any citizen who is brutalized can sue because the person's basic human rights have been infringed upon. The guy who was asked to do that thing, the question is, what forced him out? And Kwame, I've given this analogy.
But you know, there are people who are coming out.
Kwame, I've given this analogy. A cat is a pet. No matter how domiciled or docile a cat is, if the owner of the cat kept the cat in a cage without food, the day the cat is able to break loose, there will be an onslaught on the owner.
Okay.
And so the question is, those who defied, what were the reasons they defied? The pangs of hunger what is an AK-47 in front of starvation? While you twitch in hunger, and you'll soon be in a stupor of death. And so, in security studies, fear takes some processes. Oh, number one, these are well-armed people. I'm not inciting people against the security agencies. Oh, this is how well-armed they are. Then after some time, you familiarize. Look, in Iraq, there was a time George Bush was given a joint press conference with Noor al-Maliki, who was the prime minister. A bomb went off. Okay. While George Bush, I'm making a point. While George Bush, I just want to make this point. While George Bush was running for cover, the prime minister didn't even wink. You know why? The person had gotten used to violence. So if care is not taken, I'm hungry. I can't feed my mother, can't feed my wife, can't feed my 2-year-old child. And I go out, you brutalize me. At some point, I would throw caution to the wind.
All right.
And we don't want to get there. So we have to be very careful how we deal with people, even if they defy. They should, there should be...
Hello, Nana.